skirt up in here. I'm just trying to be a guest, trying to hang on, you know.
How you doing,
My
Mikey?
goodness.
How you doing,
I am
Mikey?
phenomenal, beloved. I am phenomenal. I thank you and thank the Hidden Truth family. As you know, Monday, the 23rd,
Come on.
I officially became Dr. Shock.
Drop the bomb.
So I'm so excited, and now I can really move the family forward. And so get ready, family. We're getting ready to. Thank you, Samara. Thank you, family. Thank you, Jarita.
Stand on your feet.
Thank you, guys.
Stand on your feet.
And part of that pi ratio, man, when he gave me my reading, it really put me into focus as to not only who I am, but what I'm supposed to do. And when you're dealing with Tepa said, by the way, is an African term for the scientific method. It means the accurate reckoning by using the correct method. So this is a Dogonic concept that works. And when pi ratio comes on, he'll tell you the math, it's so accurate because it's math. So it's not a guess. And so what pi ratio gave to me is he helped me break a cycle that I got from my father unconsciously. And that was not finishing what you start. And so I used to be the guy that would start a lot of projects, but I would never complete them.
Yes.
And so I put myself, and I talked about this last time I was on your platform, I talked about the Pygmalion effect, where it's basically you jump and you earn your wings on the way down. You put yourself in a position where you cannot fail, where failure is not an option. And regardless of my trauma, regardless of my drama, regardless of whatever, I'm going to finish what I start. But I could not do that if I didn't have an understanding of the mathematical equation that I'm in sync with the universe, with Amma and first frequency. And I'm just hoping everyone gets an opportunity to have that same experience with this brother, because his readings and his mathematical code is scary. There's a brother in our men's ministry, brother Ed Swims. He sent me a handwritten note that he took a photo of. He says, man, I have never, ever in my life seen anything more accurate and have a stranger be able to read my life like pi ratio. So you're in for a treat, man. You're in for a treat. This is the dude, man. This is the guy.
This is the dude. This is the dude. But with pi ratio, you know, I don't have to add. I mean, I wanted Reverend Shock to be Dr. Reverend Shock, sorry, to be
you
the
don't
one.
have to apologize. I'm still getting used to it.
Listen to me.
It just happened Monday.
No, brother, you work damn hard for that, brother. You work damn hard for that.
Thank you, beloved. Thank you.
We've got to honor it. We've got to respect it. And we've got to thank you for it, brother, because again, just raises the stakes to new levels, brother. And so,
thank you, brother.
Reverend Shock, we thank you so much, brother. And as we know, a doctor literally is one who is a teacher and is a healer. And you've been doing that without any title. The fact that you've worked hard to get the official title, come on, man, we can't forget that now. We can't drop it off, brother. So we thank you so much.
Appreciate that, brother.
For that. And yeah, brother, in about 30 seconds, brother, can you again introduce our brother Pi Ratio? 30-second introduction, brother, and Pi. We're gonna leave.
Oh my gosh, now that's you putting me on the spot there. You only give me 30 seconds as opposed to 30 hours. Listen to this guy. So we've been working together so long, I forgot how we met. But when I met Pi Ratio, I know it was his Empress Maxine. True story. She reached out to me once, and I did not get back to her in a timely fashion, which is one of my faux pas and flaws. I apologize. I'm working on that. And so she hit me up the second time with a death threat. Basically, she said, "Look, I need you to talk to this." But it was a beautiful thing because she saw in her husband what at the time Pi was not able to see in himself. So when I met this brother, I saw it immediately. I said, brother, you're going to change the world, because it's not just the fact that you are a master African mathematician. It's also the fact that you have such a stable family that you use math to do. So if you've ever seen pi ratio on my platform, you'll see the entire family, you know, from Miles to Kumaya to Anyeke, those three kids and what he has done to be able to teach them by example. Kids don't do what you say, they do what you do. You know, if you are doing saying one thing, but your actions are different, you're going to have some family discord. I've never seen a man that is more powerful in this process. So I egged him on after a certain period of time. He came onto my platform and he did this reading, and he'll probably talk about it. And he surprised me because he said, "I got a surprise for you," which I don't like to do on a live show. But I trust the brother. I said, "Okay, brother, come on and hit me up." And he tore my butt up. He changed my life instantly in that moment. And that became the book, The Human Code. And then after that, I told him, I said, "Brother, the Human Code book is phenomenal. Everybody Black first frequency needs to have it. However, you need to do to the community what you did to me, and you need to create a process where people can hit you up and go and get their Tep Haseb reading so they know what their purpose is, where they're supposed to go, what they're supposed to do, and give them a blueprint of how to get there." And then he created that, and then everything changed. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together all the way from your neck of the woods, Brother Pi Ratio. What's up, my beloved God?
Come on, my king.
Wow, King, how are you doing? How do I follow that, man? King, you're being very, very humble. This brother here before
here we go.
Before
Stop
he cuts
it now.
I just have to say, this brother here, he taught me the art of when you beat somebody up diplomatically. And then when I applied the maths to that, I thought, this is absolutely beautiful. The brother, he saw something in me that my queen saw in me, and he put me in shape. He set me straight, and so I'm truly humbled, and I'm still humbled to this day for everything that the brother does behind the scenes, because he does so much behind the scenes that we are not aware of.
Absolutely.
Hey, just to be on the platform, the same platform as a brother, that's my bag. I've landed. Thank you.
Ashe.
Thank you, God.
All yours, King.
I appreciate that.
Wow. Alrighty. Brother Andrew, I want to thank you, and I appreciate the kind and warm introduction. It's an extreme pleasure to be here. And I want to thank not only you, but the investigation team for inviting me. I'm truly humbled. My queen is an avid stalker of your show, sir, and yourself. And she always brings it to my attention. Until now, I'm a regular follower, and I try to keep up with all of the different topics that you cover. As many of the other brothers said prior to me, a platform like this is I'm still trying to put the maths behind it. It is just off the Richter scale. Believe me when I tell you this. It truly is, because Brother Earl mentioned about the ingrained knowledge that our students are currently under, and for us to move forward our views and institutionalize our views, we have to have institutions. And this is, sir, an institution, because this is where we can all come and share the same food and give the same understanding and receive the same solutions. So I'm humbled to be on this platform, first. Thank you very, 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 very much indeed. For those who don't know me, my name is Pi Ratio. I'm also known as the mathematical investigator. I was born here in London to Jamaican parents. I attended university where I studied computer science and mathematics. Now, I've always had a lifelong interest and passion in the study of mathematics and the pursuit of uncovering the truth using mathematics. As Brother Andrew mentioned, you know, I'm the author of a genetic odyssey book, The Human Code, which we believe, and when I say we, I'm a team. I couldn't do this without my queen and our children and all those around who are now have vested interests and are managing and whatever else. It's a team. I couldn't do this without a team. And we believe that the formula is something, it's an important equation, and it's a discovery to liberate not only us here, but the whole diaspora and anyone who wants to know their first frequency purpose for being born in this day and age. Now, I want to welcome you to Tepesep, because I plan on taking you on a journey this evening. And Tepesep, and it's a method that you can use in any level of teaching, and I have brought it into the mathematical teachings that I teach. And it's a teaching formulated by one of the great historians, anthropologist, physicist, and politician. It's a brother who studied the human race's origin and the pre-colonial African culture, and that was Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop. For me, he was an amazing lecturer. He was concise, and he understood that what you are taught was just as important as how you teach. Now, Dr. Diop, he created this. It's an African methodology that he encouraged. It's called Tep Hesep. And this type of teaching, it feeds the curious mind while unraveling the matrix language that mathematics is deliberately shrouded in, because that's what it is. The maths that we are taught is deliberately shrouded. And we'll break that down as we go along today. Now, my passion is to, and the passion of the team is to get Tepesep process to all our students. And by doing this, I know that I have to be grateful to the ancestors for the skills they've blessed me with. I specialize in bringing mathematical understanding to the level of the listener, and along the way, bring out its beauty and its simplicity. And the ancestral teachings, principles of Tepesep, it has 6 principles to it. And the teachings believes that as a lecturer, as a tutor, as a teacher, the first thing you have to do with the student, the aim is to challenge. Now, the reason a student is challenged is so they have high expectations of themselves. The second principle is explanation. Now, this is proving that what you're saying to the student, so you're providing the student with new knowledge and skills. So this is the explanation. And then there is the modeling. So it's all about the student knowing how to apply the knowledge and the skills. And then there's deliberate practicing. And that is, it's really important that the student deliberately practices so that the knowledge and skills are fine-tuned and readily available. And there's methods behind all of these. And then there's questioning, because that allows the student to go into their memory and learning to recall the knowledge and skills that they have acquired with accuracy. And again, there's a program behind all of these. And then there is feedback. And that feedback allows the student to ponder on how to better their knowledge and their skills. And these are all the traits of Tepperset. I currently have a weekly pilot on a maths interactive talk show, and that's Triangle Thursday. And that is on the galaxyafawe.net platform. And that is every Thursday between the hours of 10 a.m. till midday. And that's a maths interactive talk show. Now, I trust that all in this space take what I say personally. When I engage in the highest thought and exercise the thought into action. Now, my aim today is to take you on a journey and along the way, give you a clear understanding of the maths behind the Black woman's womb and the code that belongs to you. So, Brother Andrew, would I be able to just share my screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Fantastic.
Brothers and sisters, are you ready now for this? This is going to be a powerful night ahead. Pi ratio Hotep is with us. Come on, my king. Educate us. Take us into the mathematical realms.
I'm hoping that you can, when I flick this, can you see the next screen? Are you seeing the next slide? Or is it on the same slide?
It's on the same slide.
Right, so when I clicked it just then, did it go to another slide?
No.
Right, it's staying on the same slide. I might have to do it minimized. Not a problem. Okay.
Have you, it doesn't look like you've actually started the PowerPoint.
No, I've just got the presentation up, but I flicked the arrow just to see if it went along, if you could see it going along, and you couldn't see it. What can you see on the screen at the moment?
The maths behind the Black woman's womb.
Right.
Sister
Okay.
with leaves, vines around her head.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Right, okay, what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to just bear with me.
Take your time, Black man.
Right,
Looking forward to this.
I hope you don't mind, I'm gonna have to run it a little bit minimized, but as big as I can, because my PowerPoint has a way of not behaving itself. Okay, so here we go. The maths behind the Black woman's womb. Now, we as a people, we're truly amazing. I don't have to say this. We've learned so much about the world and our universe. We've learned to construct massive structures which to date have never been replicated. We've even imagined and then created complex artificial ecosystems called cities, governments. Yet we still don't totally understand ourselves. Even our own bodies still contain plenty of mysteries. Now, when we want to learn something, it's usually good to begin at the core and branch out from there. So if we want to unravel the enigma which is us, I would say, then studying our code is a great starting point. Then again, it's easier said than done. No, but thankfully with the advances of the mathematical advances, it brings us answers. Now, everything we believe in and stand for as people is under attack right now. This environment that has been created and corrupted and manipulated does not respect the Black woman, not respect our children, does not respect our men. It cares nothing for the Black family, nothing. The world is currently in the condition it is in because of the disrespect for the Black woman. So there is so much we place around her because we are taught when you teach a man, you're teaching an individual, and when you teach a woman, you are teaching a nation. Now, every prophet comes from the womb of a woman. Every intelligent, strong, powerful man and woman come from the womb of a woman. So that is why they have to attack the mother and remove the father. Now, to give or to get to her, you have to go through the black man. Every wise nation has security. Man is supposed to be that security. Can a woman secure too? Of course. Are there female warriors? Absolutely. However, because of the black woman's value, because a whole nation comes out of her, so the black woman must be protected. And the man has that essential position by nature. So someone who knows that about you will do whatever it takes. So you are removed as the male because there is a standard and conditioning that has to take place. Man, woman, and child. Taking you on a journey here. At any point, brother, if you want to jump in, please feel free to do so.
Yes, my king, we got it.
Now, if I wanted to get to that, I'd have to remove the protector because he will be watching and making sure that everything that is going on in this environment is safe and secure. Now, that is why they have to attack masculinity. Because if they know that the real black men are around, we cannot do what they really want to do, right? And if the real woman, we sure cannot do what we want to do because she's going to protect the child. The man is going to protect the woman, and they both are going to protect society. This is the deal here. Now, I'm going to move on. I have 3 quotes. And, okay. Now, Steve Jobs, for those who don't know, he's the Apple original founder. Steve Jobs, 1955 to 2011. He stated, your time is limited. Don't waste it living someone else's life. When you don't know yourself, that is what you do. You live somebody else's why, and you move off of their time. Time is going to become very important to this. The English cosmologist, theoretical physicist, and mathematician, John Barrows. All of these brothers were heavy in their field, and they understood mathematics. They understood about code. This is what he said: the logic of the Greek prevent them from having the idea at all. And it is to the African cultures that we must look to find thinkers who are comfortable with the idea that nothing might be something. Nothing that might be something. This system that we currently live in believes in things that they can see, that they can touch. Very linear, very left-minded, logic-based. So spirituality doesn't come into the mix. Spirituality doesn't come into the mix. The logics of the Greeks prevent them from having the idea at all. And it is to the African cultures that we must look to find thinkers who are comfortable with the idea that nothing might be something. And then we have Joseph Campbell, and Reflections of the Art of Living is a book that he wrote, and he transcended it passed over whatever in 1987, wherever they went. And he said the very cave within you that you are afraid to enter turns out to be the source of what you are looking for. This is all mathematical coding. This is the language that these individuals speak, because they could speak a lot more clearly than this to give you a level of understanding, but they only want those to know. So it's really important that we understand this type of rhetoric and how they speak, because at the moment, that is what our students are studying, whether we like it or not. All righty. Can you see my next slide?
Yes, we can. We can, brother.
Okay. All righty. Here's the slide. The slide is an egg. Now, if you ask yourself the question, you're walking down the road and you see a broken egg, what is the future of the egg? Well, if you ask yourself the question, what is the past of that egg? You would probably come to the conclusion that there once was an unbroken egg and it got dropped and it broke. So by just looking at that egg, you can accurately say what happened before it broke. And then by applying possibility to the equation, you can then come up with an assumption as to what will happen to that egg. So when you see that egg, you can actually tell what has happened before. So before that egg broke, to the point where it is now broken and what can happen to it, where it can get eaten by some animal, some stray animal, cleaners can pick it up, it can get crushed some more. There are a number of things that can happen to it. But by looking at that egg, you can physically tell exactly what's going on in the past and history. So in the entire past history of that egg. And that's just a simple egg. Alrighty. What is time? Well, it's important that we are to understand life. We have to look at time and the passage of time. Time's very strange. Yeah, it's strange. It's always strange. Since time talks about the past, it soon becomes the past. Why is it that tomorrow is always a day away? Time is something, well, Einstein, he gave the question when he simplified. He said, by what he said was time, it was a clock measure. So they've introduced a clock to measure time. So the idea of time, there are many of us who focus on time. Now, the idea of time, our ancestors believe in immortality because time was not under any constraint. There are many of us trapped in the increment of time, and we have to work in a 9 to 5 position. We have to live within a window of hours and dissect days based on that. And the unfortunate reality is that most of our people will never have the true understanding of life, as we are living on borrowed time, something we didn't experience in the womb. And as I said, immortality was the dream of our ancestors, in the same way as the rise of rags to riches is for the American dream. Our ancestors found very early a strong idea of morality. And my argument is that this concept exerted into the course and time and had enormous influences on other civilizations of the Eastern and Mediterranean world. Now, immortality is a concept which involves at least 3 dimensions. Space, obviously, it's obvious that immortality takes place in another sphere. And then we have time, which obviously implies the concept of eternity and social dimension. Now, I'm going to move on from all this convohivolution and bluefin because I'm going to get to the point. But I want to take you on a journey and let you understand that when we go and we dive deep in, we're going to keep it simple, but it's going to be based on time, and it's going to be based on numbers. Now, the system that we currently live in is nothing but a simulation, because we are constantly uploading and downloading information, and we do this over a period of time. How often do we spend contemplating our lives, which is either real or actually in our heads? Now, I remember in the Matrix, Neo, he was struggling with the terms of coming to the truth. Because I remember Neo, he asked Trinity why his memory never happened. And Trinity replies, the Matrix cannot tell you who you are. So just as the system spends the whole of your life telling you who you are and how you fit in to their agenda. Now, throughout the movie, the line pops up, the Matrix cannot tell you who you are. And there is a difference between knowing and walking. We live in a world full of prophecies. The system will lay out a lot of paths for us if we don't have paths of our own. All right. So as I mentioned, we are constantly uploading and downloading all sorts of information. So how often do we spend contemplating our lives and whether it's either reality or something completely different? All righty, we're going to start diving now. So let's take a dive. How many of us have heard of the axiom, so above, so below? Now, it simply means that which is below corresponds to that which is above, and that which is above corresponds to that which is below. And that's to accomplish the miracle of the one thing, so above, so below. So thus, whatever happens on any level of reality also happens on every other level. Now, without getting too deep, the microcosm is like the macrocosm. So the macrocosm is like the microcosm, and the microcosm is like the macrocosm. Within each lies the other. And through understanding one, we can understand many other things. Now, the boundaries of mental and emotional places are determined by one's mother tongue. Stay with me on this one. The boundaries of our mother tongue are the boundaries of our world. Just as the womb, motherland, or birthplace, they shelter us and symbolizes protection. And so does our mother tongue. When somebody would like to hide in an emotional and mental world, that world is the world of the mother tongue, meaning the boundaries of one's world. So all in all, there is no difference between the womb and the mother tongue. So, right, the Ankh. Now the Ankh represents life, the womb of life. The Ankh represents the wombs, ovaries, and the birth canal. The Ankh is 3000 BCE, beyond. The circle at the top represents the female, and the base represents the male. So just to be clear, the Ankh represents feminine principles of nature, spirituality, and peace. The womb of the Black woman is the most sacred place on the earth. When you believe—
Teach, Black man, teach.
Thank you, my brother. When you believe this, when you know this, only then will you not allow an unqualified man inside. Now, all that I've said before, you will begin to connect the dots. The Black woman's womb. The Black woman's womb is the original container of life. For the child, it is the most protected and secured place for the child prior to entering the world via the birth canal. And that was represented in the Ankh, which I showed previously. Now, the relationship between the mother archetype and the womb also relies on something else, and that is the language of the mother tongue. Archetype, and that, what I mean by that is a statement, a pattern of behavior, a prototype, first, form, the main model. Obviously, naturally, breastfeeding your child is also part of the program. Now, if you understand how the body functions cellularly and molecularly, you will appreciate that your code is the doorway to functioning and behaving at the highest frequency. Now, right, so let's dig deep. The Black woman's womb is the original circle. All right, it's the original circle here on Earth. When you look in the cosmos, what shapes do you see? People will say, oh, I see stars, I see this, I see that. The only shape you see is the circle. Everything else is beams of light. And that has many different shapes depending on how it gets through to you. Now, as I mentioned, for those who don't know, the Black woman's womb is the original circle here on this earth. It's the original container of life. Now, the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter is 22/7. Now, that is equal to 3.14285, and the numbers go on and on. Why 22/7? Why? This is known as pi. And pi is an irrational number, which means that the digits after the decimal point are never ending. In other words, it's a non-terminating value. It's not one whole number. So therefore, 22/7 is used for everyday calculation as a fraction, and 3.14 is used as the decimal. In the cosmos, if you measured any one of those planets and you brought down the measurements to Earth, you could break it down to 22/7. That is a fact. All right, so this is a ratio that we use here on Earth. So above, so below. Right, now, so what is the purpose? What is the good for this? What's the point in knowing this information? Now, the ratio of the circumference of its circle to its diameter, and that is just the beginning. The numbers returned on the calculator, as I said, is just the beginning. It keeps going on forever without ever repeating. This means that contained within those string of decimals is every single other number. Your birthday, combination of your padlock, your national insurance number, mobile number, bank account number. It's all in there somewhere. And if you convert these decimals into letters, you'll have every word that ever existed in every possible combination. The first syllable you spoke as a baby, the name of your latest crush, your entire life, from beginning to end. Everything we say or do, all of the world's infinite possibilities rest within this one circle, the black woman's womb. Now, what you decide to do with that information is entirely up to you. In mathematics, any number can be represented by a sequence of bits, binary digits, which in turn may be represented by any mechanism capable of being in two mutually exclusive states. Those states is either on or off, yes or no. In binary mathematics, ones and zeros. That is the language, binary. Now, converting numbers to binary is pretty straightforward. Converting from binary to hexadecimal is a little trickier, but this can also be done. And then applying and sorting and aligning the data is the bit at the end which translates the code. So now we understand all of the coding going on in the black woman's womb. Now we may say, well, how does that relate? Well, let's look at this. A child inside the woman's womb wants for nothing on the outside world. Everything is in the womb. Every coded bit of information is right there in that womb, feeding that unborn child. Everything needed is within. When that child comes into the world, you are coming from a coded environment. So you must have something about you to access something. Because what would be the point of being part of a code that was already there? Because you are now part of a code. So when we come into this world, we come into this world with a code. And the code we come in with is something about us that never changes. Something about us that never, ever changes from the time we come into this world to the time we leave out. And the only thing that never changes is your Earth Day, your birthday. Now, some people may say, well, what about the time and all this? When you are applying mathematics, it's very clear that you want to get a specific answer. If you are working with variables, and variables are numbers that go up and down, they move. Time applied to certain things make things go up and down. You are measuring a moment in time. But when you measure a constant, you get a picture of everything, because you are measuring a constant, and your code is that constant. Now, when we look around us, everything is coded. I went to the supermarket recently and I bought some dustbin bags, and they had a barcode on it. And the barcode will tell you where it came from, who made it, when it was made, why it was made, where you can get it, and everything else. Now, dustbin bag has its purpose, but we as Black people are the most valuable commodity on this planet. Why wouldn't we have a code? We were coded before we came here. Why? Our ancestors aligned themselves with numbers. Let's be very, very clear here. Numbers came about via Black people because we are the original people. Did we wait for the Wazungu to come here before we started counting? I don't think so. We had to manage many, many things. The woman is the original mathematician because she had to manage her cycle from day one. And so she had to align herself with nature. And when you align yourself with nature, you are in harmony with nature. Hence the reason why we were able to manage and control many things without very little problem. And now, because numbers is used to manage and rule, and it's used as a weapon of maths destruction to take away our liberty and our freedom and everything else. This is about giving us understanding about ourselves. The Black woman's womb is coded. You have to be very, very clear. It is the original circle, 22/7. We could go down the road of sacred geometry and look at why some of these shapes and signs are so profound, but that is a topic for another day. This is purely the maths and giving you the understanding of how valuable the circle actually is and what it actually symbolizes. And to have that understanding piques one's interest to understand a little bit more. So if our code, we come with a code, how is that code worked out? Because there's no point in having a golden nugget in your pocket and you can't find a bureau de change to cash it in to benefit from it. So it's important to understand, as I said, that the human code is your Earth Day, and then it is broken down into 9 numbers. Why 9 numbers? There has to be a reason for there to be 9 numbers. Why 9 numbers? Well, there are only 9 numbers. 1 to 9 are the only numbers. There are no other numbers. All the other numbers, as I mentioned, all the numbers in the circle that you're ever going to come across, you know, they're all a makeup of the information in that circle, but they're all a combination of the numbers 1 to 9. But within the circle, it never, ever repeats. And so every number has its own identity. Every number had to be formed. Every number came into existence via a means of something. It didn't just appear. They had to be formulated. And we need to understand all of this so that we can appreciate what numbers is to us as a people and how powerful it really is. So with regards to the formulation, you get to understand the behavior of each number because they all come into the world on its own. For example, the one, whoever the creator is the one. Let's be very, very clear. Whoever you hold whatever faith to, that is the one, the creator. Now, the creator had to have a container to create one. The creator had to have a container to create one, the zero. The one and the zero, binary numbers, yin and yang. They all tie in. Maths ties them in quite nicely. But so when on here, nobody is a one because the one is reserved for the one. It's purely mathematics. So that simply means that 2 to 10 become the numbers that we are associated with. And 2 to 10 is perfect because when you do the coding and you work your way through, 1, 0 represents new life. Man and woman together create new life. That is how we come about the numbers. And as I said, 1 is the only number which is within every number. So this coding is very, very powerful. And what it does, it takes information from the womb that you was in, the information that relates to you. And by using the formula of from decimal to binary to hexadecimal, you can formulate and get an understanding of what our code is really all about. So the Black woman's womb, which is the original container, I hope I've been able to bring it across in a mathematical way that will give you an appreciation of how beautiful maths really is. Because as Brother Numbervator said earlier, numbers is the universal language. It can solve any problem. The triangle is a powerful shape because if you put your problem in a triangle, then you are able to solve it. Why? Because you can apply Pythagoras' theorem, what Brother Numbervator mentioned, where if you've got 2 sides, you can always work out the 3rd side. So if you have a problem and you know what the cause is and how many people it's affecting, then you're able to come up with an algebraic solution. This is how we as a people use mathematics to align ourselves with nature and the problems that we come across. At the moment, it is shrouded in a way that we don't recognize. We don't even recognize how sacred the Black woman's womb is. because we don't understand the numbers. We don't understand how sacred the circle is. And because of this, we disassociate ourselves with numbers, and we think it's for a privileged set or a chosen few. But what we have to understand is this is something that the Wazungu, they stole from Black people. You have to understand this. And when a thief steals something, they don't know the true value. They don't really know how it actually works. Well, why is it they can't replicate the pyramids and they've got all the technology under the sun? Because they didn't have access to that higher knowledge, which you couldn't teach. And so we, as a people, have to give our students access to this knowledge, which is coded. It's a knowledge of mathematics that gives you the true understanding of life. And we are able to use mathematics to resolve all of our problems, combined with other sciences, if we are able to embrace it in maths. But that's going to take, as Brother Earl mentioned about having institutions, which is one of my dreams and the dream of the team, for us to have an institution whereby we can share the Tepesep teachings to all of our students. We can give them that teachings and give them the access to true mathematics, not the mathematics in the school system. Because let's be clear, you know, there are two types of maths in this world. I call it nonsense maths and applied. So nonsense maths is the maths you learn at school. Now, when I say nonsense maths, I'm not disrespecting mathematics, but what I'm saying is it's not aligned to us as a people. It's used to control us. Now, that maths doesn't mean anything to us. That's why I call it nonsense maths. Applied maths is when the real world takes nonsense maths and then they tweak it to what it is they want to do in their world. We need to be applying, right, true maths in our institutes. We can't say in their schools because it's going to be very, very difficult because we are in their system.
Can I just say, Brother Pai, I mean, this is so powerful. But, you know, someone mentioned the term, we need a church of maths. I personally believe that your spirituality should be mathematically based too. You know what I'm trying to say? Because what you're saying is so deep. It's not based on the academic maths that they're teaching in school, which has no application. But what you're going much more deeper than just, you know, getting a star in your GCSE. Your life is a mathematical code that we are there to solve.
You're so on point, my brother. You know, and I know I do go on, and I do apologize, but my aim really is just to get
beautiful, brother.
Is for them to understand that we are coded. We were coded in the womb, and information has been handed down to us. You have a phone. When you access your code, you put your code in, you gain access to the applications within that phone. When you put your account number in your account, you gain access into what is in that account. So when you access your code, you gain access to understanding what your traits are. What is your ruling faculties? What are the things? Why do you get nauseated by certain things? Why do I have a passion for this, but I'm doing this? It aligns things for you, because that's what maths does for us as a people, because we are very spiritual. And by aligning us, it puts us in the right frequency, because our code sits on a number line. In mathematics, you have negative and positive. Again, it's the 1 and the 0. And in the middle, you have a balance, which is a placeholder that they call it. Some people call it a 0 or a placeholder. Well, whatever number you are, you need to be in between, halfway in between the 0 and the positive side of that number. That is where you need to be, because these are the things that will be coming out in you and you will see it. And when you are in the negative side of you, the code will tell you what is coming out. So then you will know that you are sitting in the negative side of you, because generally we're good people. And generally it's because of situations why we do things indifferently. But to recognize and to understand why we are doing things is something that the system doesn't want us to understand. And by formulating this particular formula, what it does, it helps us to understand that, number one, we are coded, and number two, we can access our code so that we can align ourselves and get more in tune with who we are supposed to be, so we don't end up giving a why, a purpose to someone else's why, but we start giving a purpose to our why. And that is what the human code is really all about, because the human code comes from the Black woman's womb. Because if you don't come out the womb, you cannot gain access to the code.
So, so the secret behind the code, are you saying then, Baba, lies within the Black woman?
Absolutely, 100.
Wow! Oh wow!
100%.
Oh wow!
And so the Black woman has to know how powerful she is, number one, because if she's coded, right, a Black woman is coded, she has to be careful not what only enters it, but also what seeps via the neurons into it, because it's all coded, you know. And so it's really important that we understand that the womb is coded, because when the child comes out, the child is given a code from that original code, and that is the human code.
So my king. I mean, this is so powerful, brother. So, like we know that every phone must have a SIM card in order to be activated.
Yes.
Obviously, the SIM card is a mathematically coded chip. So, are you saying, Bob? I want to make this very clear what you're dropping tonight, that we need to get our SIM code sorted out.
I love your analogy, my brother, and you are spot on, because what you have to understand is that if you understand numbers, if you believe that the Black woman's womb is the original circle, and you believe that the Black woman's womb has a mathematical code that allows our children to formulate in the womb and be fed with all the knowledge, because if you go deep into the science of this is what will come up. You will then understand that we are all coded. Now, we need to understand our code. Some people may say, but hold on a second, Pi Ratio. I'm this number and someone else is this number, is the same number. How comes we're not the same, or what have you? What you've got to understand, if you understand numbers, you will understand that you did not get to your number via the same route as somebody else who got to that number. So for example, if me and brother Andrew left from where we were now and headed to Kilimanjaro, we may take different routes to get there, but we both end up in the same place. My experience and the brother's experience would have been two different experiences, but we would have got to the same place. Well, when you look at your number, well, how did you get to your number? What numbers influenced your number? And what is the coding behind those numbers? That is the information that comes from your code. So if you were say you were a number 5, for example, well, how did you get to number 5? You may have got there via 1 and 4. Well, why not? Can't I just be 1 and 4? Well, if there's only 9 numbers and 1 is for the original creator. That means the other numbers, 2 to 10, are allocated for us as humans. All the other numbers are numbers that are combination numbers, and that's a different ballgame. But there are only 9 numbers, so we have to be very clear. And in maths, you can only use what you have. You cannot use what you don't have. So maths brings truth into existence. And so by understanding how you got to your number, what do those numbers do in your number, that gives you an understanding of your code and who you are.
This is powerful, big brother. This is powerful. You've got 5 minutes left, King.
I have 5 minutes. Wow. If anybody has any questions, because I know I rabbled on quite a bit. Because
no, you didn't, brother. You dropped bombs, brother. You dropped bombs.
You know, but what I want us to understand is that maths is who we are, and we can't run away from it. We cannot run away from it, because wherever you go, maths is right there, you know, and what we do in our lives depends on whether we are making the numbers add up. You know, if our children, they need to understand the truth about mathematics. For example, if my son, he loves Nike trainers, and I'm sure many of us who are parents on this platform, our children love Nike trainers. But if we went to the lake, took our children to the latest Nike store, and when we went in there, the latest Nike trainer was wrapped up in a foreign bag, like an Iceland bag or something, and it had an Iceland logo on it or something. Our children would walk straight past it because they wouldn't recognize the Nike. Well, that's what they've done to maths. In this system, that is what they have done to mathematics. They have shrouded it in symbols and signs that we don't recognize. Some of us don't even understand what a sign means. So it's a different language. And because we don't understand what it means, we shy away from it. So if we are able to share the knowledge of what these codes and what these signs mean, because they have come through Greek and the Romans and all of the others who have taken up the mathematics banner and added their thing to it and passed it on to somebody else, you know, that's why we don't understand a lot of the stuff. But if we're able to just take a step, apply Tepesep, it becomes a lot more clearer and for the children to understand. So my message today has kind of been twofold. It's about understanding the code within the Black woman's womb, the maths behind that, and the maths that it gives us when we come out into the world. Because that code is your map. You had a map while you was in the womb. Now you are out in the world. Where do you go? Where do you go? Many of us wake up every morning still trying to work out, how do we get to this place? I know I've got this thing in me and I don't even know how to get there. It's as if we're looking for car keys and we don't even have a car. But we know we've got something in us that we need to achieve or we need to do, but we don't know what it is. Why is it so many of us think this way?
This is powerful, big brother.
And that's because we're living on somebody else's time, and we're living on somebody else's why. We've given somebody else's why a purpose.
Brother,
hi there. I'm not too sure if how much time we've got, but there are a few questions. I don't know if you're happy to answer a couple. I'm going to jump on your hard and fast.
screen. If you can stop the share screen, please.
Sure, of course. Where am I? Get rid of that. Stops you.
Was that a green light for me to start, Uncle?
Of course.
Yes, I see some very, very key questions there. Brother, if you can answer the questions very succinctly, very short.
Of course.
All right, so the first question, or the big question, and I think I've been dropping the link in the chat, but the question is, how do people work out their code? I've obviously been putting the link in the chat for people to get a reading with you or to buy the book. Is that the best way to go about it? And is that or what else would you suggest if not?
If somebody wants to know their code, all they've got to do is book it. And when they book it, the form is just a small form that will fill in and ask them for their date of birth.
All right.
And so they just follow that link. I'm not sure what link, but I'll put a link in there. But there's a link that you can follow, and it will take you to get your code translated.
Great.
Chef King, could you do me a favor, explain to the community like what happens during the session? What do they get during the session and after the session, and why it's so powerful? So walk us through the from initial contact to the end of a session. What does that look like for the community?
Well, what happens is I want to understand why one has come to get their read. I then explain about numbers, and I break them down a little bit more so that you understand what a number means. Because many of us just think that a number is just something that we use when we're doing mathematics. So it's give you an understanding of what numbers mean, so that giving you an understanding of what your number is, and then breaking that down to you so you have your code. Now, once you have your code, it's going to throw back some behavior patterns, and the numbers don't lie, and some of it is not nice, but that's what it does. I'm just a container, because when you put the formulas in and what comes out, you just have to share it. So hence the reason why working, so that will be shared.
One last question, beloved. One last question, and I know you got out of time. Well, how does this differ from astrology? Like people do astrology readings and whatever. How does this differ?
Okay, well, I'm not an expert on astrology. This is based purely on mathematics. There is no other element involved in this, because the Black woman's womb is coded, and because all of those numbers sit in the womb, I can use mathematics to get out your code and to get out the numbers associated to your code that gives me the information as to what's going on. So that's what's going on. That's how this works. And as I said, the numbers have to be stationary. They have to be constant. They can't be variables, because what variables do just give you a moment in time. So what the code does, it shares, I share with you stuff you already know, and stuff that you haven't, you probably don't want to address. That's what that does.
Fantastic.
You know, and in some cases, it makes people cry, because as I said to you, numbers is the universal language of the world, and it brings out the truth.
Well, you almost had me clicking the buy button, and then you said you made me cry, and I thought, no, maybe not. I have to wait for the confidence to rebuild back up again before I press that button, but we'll see. I've got a question about the different numbers. So you've said that there's representations or presentations from numbers from 2 all the way to 10. What's your number, and what does that signify?
What's my number?
Yes, please, sir.
Oh dear. I'm actually a number 2, because I end up being 1 and 1, 11, and that goes to number 2. I'm a number 2. And what is a number 2? Well, how would I break down a number 2? Well, in a nutshell, do you know Condoleezza Rice? Have you heard of Condoleezza Rice? She was Bush's number 2, yes, in the presidency. Well, if you notice, she was very much sort of behind the scenes. She made Bush look good. She made him look very good. You had confidence in her. You felt that if you gave her your problems, it would get dealt with in that administration. And she was very unassuming, but she could hold her own. And when she was put on the spot because of her boss, she was always able to speak very fluently, eloquently, and quite concise. And so, you know, many people had a lot of trust in her. So she was a very good number 2. So that would be kind of what a number 2 is. Doesn't really want to be the number 1. It's quite happy to be the number 2 and support somebody who is destined to be the one, or a 1, because not everybody is destined to be a 1. And so we need to understand our numbers, because if you're not destined to be a 1, then you may spend all your life trying to be a boss. when you're supposed to be the best number 2 you can, which is the one that is underneath the boss. For example, who's the second in charge to Bill Gates? We don't know who he is, but I'm sure he's living a very, very good life and doing very, very well. And so if we knew, then we could do the same.
And is this reading done online, or do we receive a written version of it?
It's done via, you get to see my ugly mug, and it's done via Zoom. And I will talk you through it, you know, and I take you on a journey.
Okay.
The only thing that's required is your date of birth. That's the only thing required, because that's the only thing about you that is constant. Nothing else about you is constant.
And this also works if somebody's asked this, if this also works if you're born in a leap year?
Well, as I said to you, and it's an excellent question, it's just numbers. People talk about Gregorian calendar. They talk about this calendar. Maths is the #1 universal language. Wherever you speak it, 2 and 2 everywhere is 4, wherever you go. And so numbers breaks down all of this, all of these other things that put in the way, whether it's a leap year, it's still numbers. You're just working with numbers. That's all you're doing. Yeah.
Absolutely. And this doesn't change regardless. So I'm just trying to literally just click on some of the questions that have come. This doesn't change regardless of whether...
Time has gone, Jarita. Time has gone. I'm sorry. I have to be strict, beloved.
All right, no worries.
You can throw this last one out.
Oh, no. Now you put me on the spot now. The question that I was going for was, somebody was asking, because obviously we were talking a lot about the womb and coming through the womb.
Yes.
Does it matter? This sounds like a simple question, but does it matter if a child's born via cesarean, or does that impact their code?
No, that's, you know something. No, that's an excellent question. That's a really, really cool question. You know, and all I can tell you is I would have to apply the maths to that, because you see, I couldn't sit here and tell you, yeah, it doesn't. No, it doesn't, because you see, when a child is brought out by cesarean, what are the parameters around all of that, you know? And I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, it does matter. No, it doesn't. Maths is the one that deals with that. You know, all I would do is apply the maths to it, and whatever it comes up with, that's what I share. So.
And this is not numerology, right?
Well, as I said, I'm not an expert in numerology. I don't know what numerology does. I know what this does. And what this does is purely mathematics. It's not about where you live, about your name. It's not about what time. I just want the one constant about you that doesn't ever change, because maths will only give you an answer when 2 things are constant. When it gives you answers when things are variable, that is a moment in time, and you have to keep checking that moment in time. And we don't have that time.
Brother, I think next time, during to asking so many serious questions coming through, I mean, people are light by the conversation yourself and Jarita's having. I mean, there are so many, I don't know why. Maybe next time, brother, you come on, we'll have a bit more time for questions and answers, okay? Because this is very, I mean, so I see some serious ones saying, what about twins born at different times? Things like that. So they're throwing a whole lot of
that's a great. Can I just say something, my king? That's a great, great question. I don't take this lightly. Listen carefully.
Yeah.
I'm a twin.
Oh, wow.
My wife is a twin.
Oh, wow.
So I haven't taken this study lightly. This is not a gimmick. This is about numbers. And anybody who is worth their salt and knows about numbers, they will tell you how powerful numbers really, really is. Hence the reason why they don't want us to understand about numbers. In maths, we don't understand about numbers. Hence the reason why we are in the condition we are in. All I'm saying is that basically this has been formulated to give us access to our code. And if we don't have access, if we don't have a roadmap as to how we are supposed to be doing this or doing that, and many of us are in our 50s, 60s, 70s, we're still trying to find out what we're supposed to be doing.
Wow.
Well, if that's the case, then you've got nothing to lose.
This
If
is some
that is the case.
serious dialogues, brother. Some serious dialogue. Brother Pi, absolutely powerful, big brother. Absolutely powerful. And I think you've lined your way up, because now I can see Siamese twins coming up now as part of questions. Cultures that maybe don't have a date of birth. I mean, there's a whole range. You've opened up a whole nest there, brother. And I can see that everyone is really inspired by tonight. And they're now mathematically thinking about the next stage. Brother Pi, just one quick thing, because time has gone. How can people get in contact with you directly?
I will put my email in the in the chat, and so you can access me, and I will put another link in the chat. There's 2 links I will put in the chat right away, so that you're able to access me, which is cool.
I can see people saying that they're going to be booking their readings. Brothers and sisters, we had tonight our king, a mathematical genius, pi ratio, brothers and sisters. And he was with us tonight, absolutely blowing things up. And he went into the mathematical code beyond the black woman's womb. That was ripped apart today, brothers and sisters. And he laid a foundation down. I could see so many of you want more. Brothers and sisters, if you feel we need a part 2 with Brother Pi Ratio, I don't know, drop some 5s, man. I just want to see, is it just me, or has he opened up a whole realm of possibilities, brothers and sisters? Drop some 5s down if you like to say, you know what, I like to do a questions and answers series with our brother. Maybe you could do some live readings on air right now on our next show. I don't know. It's down to the brother. It's down to yourself, because Hidden Truth is all about the positive solutions within our community. What Brother Pi does, to me, what Brother Pi done tonight was that scene in the Matrix, brothers and sisters, whereby Neo had the bullets firing at him. And it was at that point he realized, I'm the chosen one. I've got my numbers. I now realize who I am. And then when he turned around and looked back at the people shooting the bullets at him, all he saw was mathematics. I believe that's what Pi is leading us down tonight. That moment of clarity, that moment where mathematics is not an emotional concept, it's just a pure science, whether you like it or not. And Brother Pi, you dropped some bombs here tonight. And I think you can see some of the comments that have been racing through, Brother Pi. You've done an amazing. And this is the brother. Don't forget to pick up his book as well, The Human Code. Yeah, a genetic odyssey. Brother Pi, even though time has gone and you've slammed it tonight, can I give you 1 minute for any closing words, brother? What would you like to leave as a closing message to the brothers and sisters on this platform?
Family, can I just say that, you know, I'm truly humbled to be able to be on this platform. What I do it out of love. The reason why I'm so entrenched in maths is because I'm always searching for the truth. And mathematics gives you access to the truth. And that is purely why I do what I do. And I take this into many, many different areas. This is just one area where maths actually works. So all I will say, family, is that, you know, I thank you for allowing me to speak to you today. You know, I'm truly humbled by that. You know, if just being able to speak to you today is enough for me. But if we can get 1 or 2 of you to share with our children the importance of mathematics and gaining access in a way that's going to benefit them, that is what it's really all about for me. That is what it's really all about for me, because it's our children who are going to be the ones to come to change and make a difference. Can you imagine if, as parents, we understood our children's code, so we knew how to direct them, how to guide them?
Woo!
Imagine that.
Come on, King.
Imagine that. That's where this.
You didn't have to go there, brother. There was no need for that. that bomb at the end there, brother.
That's where this is going, because that's
Can
what
you imagine if we as parents can drop the mathematical codes on our children? That is serious, brother. That is serious, what you said.
So King, I just thank you for allowing me to be on your platform. I'm truly humbled.
No,
Thank you.
brother, we
so
thank
much.
you, King. Tell wifey, man, to make sure you got that massage lined up tonight, brethren. I'm trying to say, brother, man, because you deserved it, brother.
Well,
The masses.
Well, King, before you go, you may want to, what you can do for your Patreons there is that you can let them know that Pi will, and I don't want to surprise you, but I can always come and do your number on the platform so they can see.
Oh, let's make that a date, brother. Yeah? Okay, brothers and sisters, Brother Pi Ratio has just said he will do my mathematical code live on Hidden Truth. Rastafari, brother, I'm down with that, brother. I'm ready to cry publicly. I'm ready to be embarrassed publicly. I'm ready to jump up in joy and celebrate my code public. I don't care wherever it leads us, brother. And I thank you for that offer, brother. And it's warmly accepted. Let's do it live on our next show. Brothers and sisters, what a night. That's what makes Hidden Truth the Hidden Truth, brothers and sisters. We only bring the best in their fields onto this platform. And Brother Pi Ratio, Brother Pi Ratio. I know everyone say they want their reading done. Well, brothers and sisters, you got the link. You've got the link, man. Come on, man. Don't go on them ways, man. Brother Pi is ready for you, man. He's ready for you. Brothers and sisters, don't forget, we had the great Mr. Numbervator on just before Brother Pi. Two of the greatest, man, come from two schools of mathematics, but both of them absolutely locking it down. Don't forget, brothers and sisters, let us support Mr. Numbervator. He's got a black superhero comic